welcome back to the channel. And so today we're going to be doing a video about all of the recent books that I've read. And just to forewarn you guys, my family is celebrating a birthday downstairs. So if you hear a little bit of happy laughter, happy anything, it's because we're celebrating a birthday downstairs. But I really wanted to get this video out to you guys, so that's why I'm recording anyway. So yeah, let's get into the video. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing a video on all of the recent books that I've read. So there's a little bit of an overlap between what I read in October and November. I just feel like I didn't read a lot of books in October, and so there was really no point in doing a video. But I have recently read a lot more books, and I'm really happy to share with you guys what I read. So the first book on our list is A Study in Drowning by Reid, and I have mixed feelings about this book. Initially going into the book, you know, it just wasn't what I expected. Like, going into the book, I thought, I just had different expectations. How do I say this? Like, it was nothing like what I thought it was, and I was really confused. Like, the beginning, the first act was kind of like bumpy, like that exposition part. Like, I just didn't understand anything. And I feel like there were just a lot of unanswered things that eventually get answered, but not knowing what was going on for like the first like 30-40 pages was kind of frustrating. But like once you kind of get keyed in and clued in, like it was pretty enjoyable. And then once we get to like the more mystery solving part, like that's where I got hooked. Like that's where I was just in it to find out what happens. Like it hooked me in the second act. Like, so just a little bit about the book is that it is said that it is enemies to lovers, or academic rivals to lovers, or whatever. In my opinion, I don't really feel like it is, just because I don't really consider them to be rivals. And yeah, but overall, I mean, I see why it was marketed that way, but yeah. But it definitely was marketed correctly in dark academia. It definitely gave dark academia vibes 100%. Like the world was just super dark. So like I've never read anything like it before, honestly. And what was another thing I was going to say about, like, it was also historical fantasy. So I've read historical fantasy in the past. Like I've read, what's that book? A Crane Among Wolves by June. And I love that book, and that book literally made me love historical fantasy. And this book has not changed my opinion of the genre. I still love historical fantasy. Basically, to sum it up, I give this book like a 3.5 out of stars, just because like I feel like there were some things that could have been communicated and just written a little bit better. And at times, like while the writing is beautiful, I found myself very frustrated because I feel like I wasn't getting any substance or just the information that I wanted out of it. And I was just reading, you know, beautiful words that didn't really have, like, you know, the meat in it. But it was beautiful to read. But, you know, sometimes that can be frustrating when you're reading and you want to, like, find out already. But yeah, overall, I'll give it 3.5 out of stars. And I'll also say that I wasn't the biggest fan of the romance in this. It was okay. Like, it was okay. As far as the twist was amazing. I did not see that coming. And then let's see what else. Also, just to forewarn you guys, the book does talk a little bit about like some things involving sexual assault, but it does not go into extreme detail. Sorry, the book does talk about, you know, like sexual assault and just like, you know, those types of things, but it never goes into extreme detail. So yeah, that's just like a little tip, little heads up. But overall, 3 out of 5 stars. I even kind of like want to give it a 4-star. It just depends on how I'm feeling and like what day it is. But overall, I would say that it's 50-50. Like you could either like this book or you could either not like this book. All right, second book we're going on to is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. All right, and so I actually listened to this as an audiobook, and I loved it, surprisingly. Again, when it comes to books that were originally written in another language that get translated into English, there's always that part that just feels really frustrating because the order in which things are told in doesn't really make sense to like our American brains. And so I've kind of gotten used to that. But if you completely ignore that part, it is an amazing story. Like it's been a long time since I've read anything with time traveling in it, and I just love the rules of the time traveling in the cafe. So brief summary, basically there are 4 short stories in this one book with all of these different characters whose lives are all interconnected and all visit this cafe. And so basically each chapter of the book, or the audiobook at least, focuses on one character, and it just deals with a lot of themes of loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, loss, Alzheimer's, and just relationships and romances and marriage and just family stuff, you know, family relationships. And it was just really beautiful. That's all I have to say about it. Like towards the end, like my heart was literally breaking, and I don't want to spoil it, but if you read it or you listen to it, I recommend listening to it better than reading it, just for the reason that I said before. And actually the audiobook does a really good job at kind of acting things out and explaining things to you, because I feel like if I was reading it, I would be kind of impatient, because like I said, I feel like in translated books, they tend to like, they're just a little bit all over the place in the storytelling. But listening to it, I was a little bit more patient, and I just knew I wouldn't, like I probably wouldn't enjoy actually reading it. But overall, I would give it 4 point out of, well, hold on, 4.5 stars out of 5 stars is what I would give it. All right, so moving on to the next book. Now this one, I feel like I was gonna save it for the end, but it is Yellowface by R.F Kuang. Okay, so this book, I've seen it everywhere, and R.F Kuang has been a very popular author lately, for like the past, I don't know, 2-3 years or even longer. But I have a lot of her books on my TBR, and this is the first book by her that I've read, and I like it. Oh, technically I didn't read it. I listened to it as an audiobook, and this was actually the first audiobook that I've ever listened to before, because I just was kind of like anti-audiobooks, but I like this audiobook, and I felt like she chose a really amazing voice actor for her character, and I think that's the important part of an audiobook. You have to have a good voice actor. But yeah, I loved it. Like, I see why some people had like mixed feelings about it, for sure, but overall I just love having a like a jaded, I forget what the word is, but like a jaded main character, or just like a gray, well, I don't know if she was a gray character, but like just like a character. Oh, that's what it is. It's called an unreliable narrator or unreliable protagonist, and that's exactly what the main character was. I absolutely loved it. I loved how we were just so in her mind, and I thought the writing and just everything that she had to say about the publishing industry and just like the literary world and just a lot of things about social media, I thought it was amazing. I definitely think that if you haven't read it, you should just read it. Just read it and figure out your own opinions of it. I think that this is like a blind buy. Like, don't even read the back of it, just like buy it and read it. That's my opinion. Or, you know, the library or an audiobook like I did. If you have Spotify, the premium Spotify, it's free on Spotify. You can listen to the audiobook like I did. And okay, so now that brings us to our next book, Six of Crows. So Six of Crows by obviously Leigh Bardugo. This is my first book by Leigh Bardugo that I have read, and I love it. I see why you guys like her. She is amazing. She is aspiring. And first of all, I want to say that I first kind of was motivated to read this book because I've seen it before. Like, it's been around for a long time, but I just never really gravitated towards it at the time when I was like in high school. But after watching the show on Netflix, I was kind of like intrigued, like, you know, I wanted to see what it was about. And plus I heard so much about this Kaz Brekker. Like, I need to know like who Kaz Brekker, however you say his name, Brekker, is. And so yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars. Like, I just love the world that she's created. I love the detail. I love how her world feels real, and I just love like how it's an honest depiction of what I think like you know like in superhero movies, like where people have like powers and like people like are like, oh, they're so amazing, but like in this world, you know, some people hate them, right? And I love the storytelling. I love how she like was able to make each chapter from a different character's perspective in such a short amount of time. Like it just allowed us to really like I just feel like we learned so much about each character so well, like from the different perspectives, and then also going back in their past, and just like not a lot of writers can do that like well, and she did it so amazingly well. So amazing writing, amazing storytelling, and at no point did I feel like it was too slow or too fast. I felt like it was just right. And so yeah, I can't wait to read I don't know what the next one is after Six of Crows. Whatever the next, oh, Cricket Kingdom, Cricket Kingdom. I can't wait to read that one. I'm kind of like holding off because like I want to keep the excitement inside of me. But yeah, 5 stars for Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. And by the way, I'm looking at my like little notebook here, so that's why I'm looking down. All right, so on to our next book. So this one is called Must Love Books by Shauna Robinson, Shauna Robinson, and this one was good. It was good. It's again another book about books, and I love books that are about books. And this one, very much similar to Yellowface, again was talking about the publishing industry, the literary world, and the writing world, and authors. And I loved it, especially as someone who is an aspiring author, right? I loved it. Now, I didn't necessarily love the main character, but I don't punish a book based off whether I love the main character or not, because I think that some main characters are not meant to be liked. And yeah, and I mean, I related to her as someone who's also in their 20s and is struggling to figure things out. But yeah, oh my God, I just feel like the romance, it was just hard to root for the romance because there was just a lot of, I'll say, manipulating going on. And that just made me not like the romance naturally, because it's like, that's not love, that's not, anyway. But basically the main character finds herself in a sticky situation where she has a job as an editorial assistant, and basically it's not like paying her enough. She gets a salary cut, and then her best friend leaves and finds another job, and so she's feeling desperate to find another job that can pay the bills, right? And you know, she wants to work with books. She loves books. And so basically she finds herself in a very sticky situation where I don't want to spoil too much, but she finds herself in a sticky situation where she takes another job, essentially, she ends up essentially working 2 jobs and just having to lie to a lot of people. We'll just say that. And as a result, it causes her great anxiety. And yeah, I won't spoil the end, but yeah, I would definitely say this could be like a 50-50 book. Like you either like it or you don't like it. If you're reading the book for the romance, don't recommend it. It's not a book for romance. I think it's more of a book that's about self-discovery and just like, you know, being on the struggle bus in your 20s and just finding yourself. It's kind of a finding yourself book. You know, a relatable book for anyone who's in their 20s and it's just going through that time, their period of their life where, you know, you don't have any, you're not having any great luck, or I don't want to say luck, any great opportunities coming around, and you're getting frustrated. And so yeah, that's that book. And so my rating for that book is about 3.5 stars. And yeah, moving on to our last book. All right, so 2 Part Sugar, 1 Part Murder by Valerie Burns. So this is a cozy baking mystery series. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like a lot of cozy culinary stories are being published lately, and basically this is one of them. And I liked it. I actually really liked it. If you're going into it for like expecting a hardcore mystery, this is not that type of book. This is like a cozy, you know, dulled down mystery, small town type of vibe. So yeah, this isn't hardcore. So if you want hardcore, don't read this. If you want cozy, culinary, like a little like cooking, a little bit of a small town vibe, fun characters with a little mystery in the mix, this is perfect. And um, funny story, there's actually 3 books in this series, and I was at Target and I picked up the second book in the series and read that one first, and now I read the first book second. And by doing so, I realized that honestly, you can read these things in any order. I mean, you really can. Wouldn't recommend reading the third one first though. I haven't read the third one, but I don't think that would work. But I flip-flopped these two and didn't really make a difference. But yes, I absolutely love them. They're just like a fun read, like a nice short little fun read. Like if your brain is tired from, like, for example, like I read Yellowface before I read this one, and so this one was just like a break from, like, I don't know, harder reading, I guess, if that makes sense. But basically it's about this girl whose aunt dies, and I don't know why aunts always die in these cozy mysteries, but like she inherits a bakery from her aunt in this small town called, let's see, New Bison. And so yeah, she inherits a bakery and a house from her aunt in New Bison. So she moves from California and she moves to New Bison. And so she's basically like this spoiled rich girl living in New Bison and essentially, you know, learning how to adult. And while she's learning how to adult, she is introduced to some great friends that were friends and basically like family to her aunt. And while she's in this town, like immediately, like on the first or second day, somebody literally gets murdered in her bakery, like crazy. And so basically her and all of her friends, or new friends, and co-workers, and the sheriff work together to figure out who killed the mayor, because that's who, yeah, it's the mayor who gets killed. So who killed the mayor? And overall, I liked it. It's cozy. 5 stars. 5 stars. And I will likely be buying the third book, but I'm gonna hold off on that because this is definitely like the type of book that I would just reread for fun, like, you know. But yeah, so that concludes today's video. I am all done talking to you guys about the books that I read in the last month and a half. And yeah, it's been great. I know I kind of like rushed through this because like I'm trying to like hurry up before like it gets super loud downstairs and you guys will be like, what the heck, you know? And then I'm like, dang, I can't post this video. So yeah, that concludes today's video, and I'm looking forward to reading some more books and just kind of like, I don't know, sharing that with you guys. I'm still figuring out like what type of content I'm gonna post on this channel. Like, I mean, I know it's a booktube channel, but like I also like doing vlogs and things like that, but I think I'm gonna hold off on vlogs. Those tend to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and I am new. And so yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment below about which of the books that, you know, you're interested in reading, or if you've already read them, and tell me what you thought and like how many stars you gave them. And so yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!